What's up, America? This is Kim and Neil with Geauga Firearms Academy. Thanks for watching. We know everyone's stuck inside.
So we're going to go with a different approach. Rather than talking about the prepping and what we should do and all these things with the possible onslaught of our pandemic and all this stuff, we're going to talk about what we can do at home and do some dry fire practice.
And now I'm going to show you how to dry fire practice while holding a baby. Just kidding. This is why we've been so busy and not putting out all the videos.
All right, Kim, so what kind of accoutrements do we need for this?
Well, you can just do dry fire practice with just your gun, but these snap caps are some of the best things you can buy because you're going to really get your money's worth. You can practice and train from anywhere safely, which is really cool.
So two things with these. One, obviously don't do anything you haven't actually got training on, and this video is by no means a replacement for that. And two, we'll talk a little bit about what we're looking for in a snap cap. That's important to give you the best bang for your buck, not literally in this case, and how to use them. So let's get started with that. Today for our dry fire practice, people always want to know what we're working with here. This is the CZ P10C, one of my favorite pistols. Just came off the range from a class. It's a little dirty, so
We've got a review of it if you guys are interested.
There is, in fact, let's put that in the links below. You'll be able to find that if you're interested. But let's get down to brass tacks.
So what are the important things we look for in a snap cap?
All right, so when we're evaluating what kind of snap cap to get, these are by Zoom, by the way, and Kim will tell you something about that in just a minute. I'll hold this up. I don't have anybody behind the camera, but I'm sure you'll kind of see that. That is chewed the heck up, and that's because we use these so much. But the most important thing to understand there is whatever brand or whatever type of snap cap you get, that it has an aluminum rim. The casing, at least, is aluminum. And some of these, I'll give you another example. This is a little bit older model, and it has a spring in there, which is completely irrelevant. You don't need any of that. It's mostly all plastic except for the actual, again, the rim. So make sure those are metal, because if you get the plastic ones, as you can see how chewed up the metal, that's right. So of all the brands and whatnot, there's a couple things that we look for and a couple of reasons why we like which brand, Kim?
We like Zoom.
Yeah, and I don't have a coupon code for you. They didn't send me these for free. I'm just telling you from personal experience.
We buy them. It's just
That's
something
right.
we like.
First off, this is a live round. This is a live round. Don't do this. I'm just showing you one of the reasons why we prefer the Zoom cap setup. All right, so we all know brass rounds, silver rounds. If you would please, madam. Now, again, so now I have a loaded gun with a live round in it. If I were to, just set that down, if I were to press check or to look into the chamber, right, we can see brass, or in this case, we can see silver, okay? So let's make sure that one's out. We're gonna physically inspect it. There's no magazine, so we know the gun is clear. Now, if we look at, this is a very well-known brand name out there, which, again, I'm not here to bash any particular brand. I just want to point something out. Now, if we look at this overall, we go, it's got a bright orange plastic bullet, and therefore, this is pretty safe. So then we take our snap cap, our round, if you would please. So then we do the same deal, same drill, okay? Take our mag out here. And we go and take a look at the chamber. What do you see there?
I see silver.
What's the difference between this one and the live one I just kicked out? Okay. Obviously, in this particular case, it's got an orange tip on it, but we're not going to be able to see the tip. Okay. So that's one of the things I look for when we're talking about safety, because that's what this is all about, right, Kim?
Yes.
It's about being able to do this at home and doing it safely. And although we want to do this in a way where there's no live ammo possibly in that room, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't give me a comfort level that I'm okay with when I look at that and go, ooh, is that really a live round or is it not?
So which one's the real round? If we have them like this, you can't tell. If we go like this, you can tell. Or if we go like this, you can tell. But like this, you can't tell the difference. Like when they're in the gun.
So even, you can't see this off camera, but even when we go and we set that live round down, I bring the snap cap back over, I open my hand. Kim verifies that's how important this is. Even though this is a controlled environment, we're professionals, what we do, we still double, triple check everything, okay? All right, so on to the point of all of this colored and Zoom caps and what that all means.
And now we have the Zoom snap caps, and they're in like a red maroon color. So they're a lot easier to tell that that's obviously a dummy round or
right,
snap
so
cap.
we do the same process now, okay? And we were to go and look at that. Well, that one's pretty obvious.
Oh, yes.
So as long as manufacturers don't start making live rounds maroon, we're good to go.
What about people who make their own snap caps?
So I've seen this a lot of different ways in setups. People that do reloading, they'll take the actual case like you have there, they'll put a bullet in there with no powder or even primer in there. The problem again exists the same thing. It's impossible literally just by looking in the chamber if it's live or not. We're human beings, guys. We get distracted, things happen, and God forbid something, you would go back to that gun and it's not a snap cap in there. That would be catastrophic.
So now on to dry fire practice, some drills and how you do it and stuff like that. First question we get a lot is, well, why can't I just do it with my gun? Which you can do, but with snap caps you can do a lot more. And another question we often get is, won't it hurt my gun?
Yes.
And so is that true?
So absolutely not. It will not hurt your gun unless it's a 22, a rimfire. I don't want to make this a technical video, but trust me on this one. Read your manual, and probably why would you dry fire 22? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But for all our center fire guns, basically modern guns, that is, whether it's a hammer strike or whatever the case is, that firing implement is hitting air. And last time I checked steel, firing pins are stronger than air. So there's not taking any additional wear and tear that you would on firing live rounds. And you can fire hundreds of thousands of rounds with no issues. So no issues there. We can do this all day long. But as Kim said, we've exponentially expanded our training opportunities. So let's talk about how this would actually expand our possibilities here. If I have no snap caps in my magazine and I want to say practice reloads, which would be a very common thing that you'd want to do, especially in this downtime. So I take my empty magazine, I insert it properly, and then I go to release my slide. Okay, for those of us who have some basic knowledge, we all realize that without a round in there, never going to happen. Okay. The snap cap also, because we could argue and just say, well, we're just going to put a phantom, we're going to fake it, right? We're going to put a fake magazine in there and it works. Okay, but that doesn't really give us the full effect. Like, what if this is not seated? So, Vanna, if you would, here's our zoom cap, right? And so let's say I insert my magazine in here and I rack one in the chamber and then I practice, right? Well, since I have a snap cap, I can tell you nothing's coming out. I can tell you that right here the magazine is not fully seated, which we can't do unless we actually do this legitimately with the snap cap. That way I can go ahead and get my training in there to get my gun. Let's see if it works. Oh, there it goes. So that's number one. We can verify that our training is actually legitimate and working fully.
Besides for not seating the magazine correctly, so we see people, they insert their magazine correctly and then they go to rack it and they actually don't fully rack it.
So you saw Kim move it, but is there a round in the chamber? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Okay?
Chamber's
Nothing
empty.
came out of there. So even though we did the motion, and had we done that same thing by just inserting this and doing that same movement, we can't confirm that in fact it is properly loaded. All right, another thing that we can do is set up type 1 and type 2 malfunctions, and if you're not familiar with that term, don't do them, because obviously you haven't gotten training on that, and that's okay. I don't want you to do stuff that's out of your wheelhouse here. But if you understand what I'm saying to you, type 1 and type 2, we can go ahead and do that with snap cap. So this is a type 2. To go out here, I'd go ahead and hit the old bang button, and I would end up with this mess here. So obviously the way we would fix that would be a tap, rack, and assess, or tap, rack, and shoot. And of course we can confirm by dropping the magazine out. I still have one in the mag, and if I did it right, there should be something in this chamber. So let's see. And there is. So that clearly works. So that's a drill. And of course that would obviously fix type 1. Again, I'm not telling you that what that means on purpose. Okay, so if you know what it means and you've had training, fantastic. Of course we can also practice reloads with this guy in the proper way. So again, I can see there's nothing in there, and I'm not doing that from a safety perspective. I'm doing that to make sure that my training is proper. So I can bring that into my field of view, my radar screen, my workspace, whatever you guys want to call it, insert it properly, load one in. Now, I can drop my mag and see, yes, in fact, it did take it from the magazine into the gun, and then confirm that it did, in fact, load. So that was a good practice reload. Another great drill I like to do with these is have one with as many rounds as you want, but I just have one in this one, preferably in your mag pouch, or however it is that you typically carry your magazine. And by the way, for those that don't have a magazine pouch in your pocket, you're going to see the value of that if you ever did do that, because as the magazine gets disoriented and you got to pull it out and try to figure it out, that is a lifesaver. And there's a bunch of really cool gadgets on the market as well that can help you keep your magazines aligned properly. But in this setup, I've got no round in the magazine, I've got no round in the gun, And so I'm going to go out, press my trigger, and I'm going to get the dreaded click instead of a bang. In which case this simulates, it happens to me, because I have larger hands, the gun's working perfectly fine, but because of my aggressive high thumbs forward grip, the slide, I sometimes make contact with that slide release, and therefore on the last round, it doesn't lock open. Okay, it should be here, but that doesn't happen. So we're going to immediately revert back to our training, our immediate action drill. So I'm here, I got a click instead of a bang. So I come up here, oh, my slide is locked open, and I can see that it's unloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that out, insert my new one, whether you use a slide release, whether you rack the gun. Again, this is in a training video. And now I would go back out. And so this time I know that I picked that magazine, that round up that was in the magazine, and I confirmed it did make it to the chamber. Now, of course, without a magazine in there and no snap caps at all, or magazine doesn't really make any difference, I can obviously do my fundamentals of shooting. Again, not a training video, but I can practice that. The one thing I would tell you guys that's really critical is that you're actually aiming at something, whether it's you actually put a target up on a mirror or you use a light switch or whatever the case is, but you're intentionally hitting something. You're lining up so you get your sight alignment, your sight picture. We're focused on our front sight. Sorry, couldn't help myself there. And we do good quality dry fire practice. Once again, if you have a partner at home with you, they can watch your gun. So when we press the trigger properly, I shouldn't get this, right? It should be completely smooth the whole way through. You can also see yourself in the mirror or even record yourself on your phone. What else you guys gonna do? It's COVID-19 time.
We hope everyone's staying safe now, and hopefully you're taking this time to do some positive things like improving your shooting with some dry fire practice. If you guys like this video, please give us a thumbs up, like, share, comment. We always love to hear from you guys. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and we put all of our premium content on Patreon. Until next time, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.